Well, good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I do apologize for being a little bit late starting this morning. I started researching and I got a little excited and got sidetracked, unfortunately. So we are here this morning, and let's start out with honoring God with our bodies. God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect our ears and help us listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect our eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over our mouths. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help our hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. God, please protect our reproductive organs and help us to honor you, God, with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet as we walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And if this is the first time you're joining us here this morning, this is a phrase that I like to add to our morning startup, just before we get into the news. I'm praying that a lot of you have prayed before coming online with me this morning because there's a lot going on. But the biggest thing is what's going on with Fauci. So let's just go over some of our trending topics on X. They've uncovered video and exposes New York City bodegas processing EBT for kratom. Now, kratom was like a very big issue for RFK last year, and it's because of the addictive properties of kratom, and they actually reclassified it. They've gone after convenience stores, of which a bodega is, about selling it to different, how should I say, people in their stores because they list it as an herbal product. But again, there's addictive properties to it. Some people use it for muscle or back injuries as opposed to using opioids. But again, it has the same addictive properties. So now they're processing it through EBT. Now, with EBT, you're not supposed to be able to buy like cigarettes or alcohol, drugs, or anything like that. But because they're probably putting it under a food item or a health item, that's how they're able to process under EBT. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. And then a 2021 video shows DC resident challenging Fauci on vaccines. If you guys remember that, when they were doing the walk arounds of DC, like, you should get vaccinated. And I remember the gentleman going, nope. Y'all been testing on everybody for years. I'm not going. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that was kind of the gist of it. And then the NYC publishes list of potential second home tax targets. It's really sad how people can, you can make it out the dirt here in the United States, right? You can. Hard work, ingenuity, knowing what next steps it takes. It doesn't happen to everybody, but there are a few people who figured it out. But now you're going to be punished for trying to create generational wealth for your family. And that's just, it's gross, it's disgusting, and I'm really hoping we get past it. We will see, right? Now, with that, let's get into something I didn't get into yesterday. And there are fines that the administration have imposed on people here illegally. I don't think they'll ever see this money, but I think it's more so the principle of the matter.
Has made immigrating to the United States illegally a hugely expensive undertaking for those who try it. The department announcing Thursday that it has imposed more than $84 billion in fines on illegal immigrants who refuse to leave.
The number comes from over 100,000 civil fines that DHS has imposed on illegal immigrants since the Trump administration began. The Biden administration paused issuing fines on illegal immigrants until the second Trump administration restarted them in June 2025. Homeland Security offers an option for illegal immigrants to avoid having to pay fines. It says those who choose to self-deport using the CPB Home app can nullify all fines, plus receive a free flight home and $2,600. The department says the consequences for refusing are fines of $998 a day for staying past a final order of removal, possible imprisonment, and deportation while never being allowed to return. Last year, Homeland Security and the Justice Department made it easier for authorities to deport illegal immigrants. They streamlined the process by dropping a 30-day notification period for those subject to fines. They have also allowed the fines to be sent by regular mail and shortened the process when illegal immigrants dispute their fines. There is at least one lawsuit opposing the fines. The Legal Aid Justice Center filed a lawsuit on behalf of a mother who entered the U.S. illegally with her child in 2016. She owes over $1.8 million in fines. Senator Rick Scott introduced a bill last month that would double the fine on illegal immigrants. Penalties would also apply to those knowingly employing illegal immigrants.
What always fascinates me with some of these individuals? Oh, you so well dressed. Like they got rolling luggage and bags, clean, but you're desperate to get over here. Like the math does not math on those optics. But whether we ever see that 84 billion, I highly doubt it. And it will probably pay out more to remove people than we will ever receive in those fines. But again, like I said, I think it's more so principle. But what these individuals don't understand is if you don't leave, so that if you really want to be an American citizen or come back here properly, you'll never touch the soil again if they remove you and you have deportation orders. Just understand that. We don't have to have you here. People think they are just so entitled to being on American soil. If you don't get it together, you don't. Stop that. Now let's get into this whole thing with Fauci.
Fauci in the hot seat. Major fireworks on Capitol Hill as Republicans pummeled the former head of the National Institutes of Health with questions about the COVID pandemic. But on the advice of his lawyers, he pled the fifth repeatedly. As Justin Finch reports, the man once known as the most famous doctor in America is now fighting for his reputation.
The man once hailed as the nation's savior got pummeled today as he pleaded the fifth, a grand total of 111 times.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color's the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, on the advice of counsel, on the advice of counsel.
When his attorney attempted to speak up for him,
Security, please remove him from the room.
he was expelled from the hearing.
Thank you to you for your service to this nation.
Democrats came to Fauci's defense.
And it is unfortunate that you have been put in the position that you are in today.
But the hearing was dominated by Republicans who hold the now 85-year-old Fauci responsible for mistakes made during the COVID pandemic.
You got rich while people were dying.
Who the do you think you were for doing that?
What a difference 6 years makes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
In March 2020, as the nation faced the historic crisis, Dr. Fauci's soothing confidence made him an instant celebrity.
You are seen to many as a superhero, but you are a human being, and you've been working nonstop.
He seemed to be on TV all the time, even talk shows. Brad Pitt played him on SNL.
I'd like to thank all the older women in America who have sent me supportive, inspiring, and sometimes graphic emails.
His just-released diary, which he kept on his government-issue laptop, shows he relished the fame. Press is going wild with me, he wrote. Very flattering. Truly unbelievable. People naming their dogs after me. But as the death toll rose and Americans suffered under punishing lockdowns and school closures, Fauci's star began to dim.
I mean, this guy was wrong about everything. And it's all documented.
It is whiplash, right? It's this one figure who is invested with all the trust and hope of America. This is the face of public health. This is the public health response. And now we're seeing the flip side of it in the, extended hangover after the pandemic.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment.
Before the questioning began, Dr. Fauci explained that he was pleading the Fifth because he believed Senator Rand Paul and other Republican senators were attempting to entrap him into saying something that could lead to perjury or criminal prosecution.
Interesting. Why would you think something would lead to perjury? If you didn't lie before, why would you be in fear of lying ever? I'm just saying. I know there's a whole thing with process crimes because that's what the FBI does. They try to say that you said something once and you said it's slightly different. So it's kind of a process crime. So you're kind of lying, even though you didn't really lie. It's weird. But if you were being honest then, why aren't you being honest now? I'm just saying. It all goes together, right? And good morning to everybody that's joining me in the comment section. So I want to get to this one video that was very telling. And this was when Donald Trump was headed to office.
Prize outbreak. Given, as you heard from the introduction, that I have been around for a while and have had the opportunity and the privilege and the pleasure of serving in 5 administrations, I thought I would bring that perspective to the topic today, is the issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you'll understand why history, the history of the last 32 years that I've been the director of NIAID, will tell the next administration that there's no doubt in anyone's mind that they will be faced with the challenges that their predecessors were faced with. So for those who think that infectious diseases is gone, there's so many people who've made foolhardy statements not knowing at the time that they made them. I usually show a quote from an old Surgeon General or an old pundit in infectious disease.
Now, I won't play the whole video, but I will delete the link for you guys. But that was very interesting to me. It's like, you're going to face this. So my question was always, is this a buildup? Is this a setup? Like, what's really going on, right? Here's another blast from the past.
Because a lot of what you're seeing as attacks on me, quite frankly, are attacks on science. Because all of the things that I have spoken about consistently from the very beginning have been fundamentally based on science. Sometimes those things were inconvenient truths for people, and there was pushback against me. So if you are trying to, get at me as a public health official and a scientist, you're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science. You have to be asleep not to see that. That is what's going on. Science and the truth are being attacked.
We hear from a physician in Durham, North Carolina. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Fauci.
Good morning.
And, Pedro. You've been at the NIH a pretty long time, and it seems to me that during your tenure, our ability to control infectious diseases hasn't improved, but in fact worsened. And even basic health tips such as you can't use antibiotics to treat viral infections has not been adequately communicated to the public. But don't you think it's time that you step down and let someone else who has a more effective message?
Actually, no.
The emails paint a disturbing picture of Dr. Fauci from the very beginning worrying that he had been funding gain-of-function research. And he knows it to this day, but hasn't admitted. We have to get Democrat counterparts that will actually use the committee hearings to investigate this. There's a lot of evidence that he has a great deal of conflict of interest, and that if it turns out this virus came from the Wuhan lab, which it looks like it did, that there's a great deal of culpability in that he was a big supporter of the funding, but he also was a big supporter to this day of saying we can trust the Chinese on this. We can trust the Chinese scientists. And I think that's quite naive and really should preclude him from the position that he's in.
Okay. Yeah. One more.
It is a crime to lie to Congress. Do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function. Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans,
right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about. Okay, you get one person.
Let's read from the NIH definition of gain of function. This is your definition that you guys wrote. It says that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among mammals is gain of function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
And let's send Dr. Fauci.
I have to, well, now you're getting into something. If the point that you are making is that the grant that was funded as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well, wait a minute.
It did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee will allow the witness to respond.
I totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator, because if you look at the viruses that were used in the experiments, that were given in the annual reports, that were published in the literature, it is molecularly impossible.
No one's saying those viruses caused it.
It
no
is
one is
molecularly.
Those viruses caused the pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That is
you can't
not.
Get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
I'm not obfuscating the truth.
Senator
You are the
Paul's
one.
Time is expired, but I will.
Yeah, that happened. Okay. That happened. That happened, everyone. So now let's jump to the pardon that Joe Biden gave to Fauci. Let's talk about it. So I said, can you give me the legal standing for the pardon given to Dr. Fauci and why he used the Fifth Amendment in the latest hearing? If he was already pardoned, right? Also, can you find if the NIH that he testified to did not fund gain-of-function research was listed in the pardon? Because when you go through the pardon, the only entity that's not listed for him to be pardoned for is the NIH. The question that Rand Paul answered and what he said was, it's not a matter of the gain of function, it's who funded it. Did they fund it or not? It was crazy. Is it different or wrong? Why would he need to be pardoned? Absolutely. And the bigger question is the date of the pardoning. So let's get into it. So President Biden used a preemptive, full and unconditional federal pardon to Dr. Anthony Fauci, not to the NIH as an entity. Totally separate, right? But he was the director of the NIH, just saying, on January 19, 2025, under Article 2, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution. So here's the official pardon: a full and unconditional pardon for any offenses against the United States, which he may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014. When did the pandemic happen? Was that like 2020 when he was brought back on? Why did it go all the way back to 2014? Yeah, that's the bigger question. It says through the date of this pardon arising, so from 2014 up until 2025. Pardon, right? Arising from or in any manner related to his service as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which is the NIAID, as a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force of the White House COVID-19 response team, or as chief medical advisor to the president. There is no mention of NIH at all. And that's the question that Rand Paul was stating. He was like, it's not the matter of the gain of function research. Did you fund it or didn't you? And they did. And they admitted to it. I mean, he said, he goes, well, the research is funded. Yeah, it was. But then did that gain of function research lead to where we're at now? Or lead to what had happened? Yeah. It's very crazy. Very crazy. So Biden's accompanying statement framed it as protection against baseless and politically motivated investigations, right? He's back on the stand. And threats of prosecution. Okay. Explicitly stating it was not an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Are you sure about that? You sure about that? I've played you the videos. I'm just saying. So the presidential pardon power is broad and long-standing Supreme Court precedent. Treat it as essentially unlimited for federal offenses against the United States. It can be granted for charges during proceedings or after conviction and covers past conduct. Okay, preemptive blanket pardons for specific periods and roles have historical precedent and have generally been treated as valid, though very broad or future conduct pardons raise theoretical questions that have not been definitely tested in this exact form. Yes, it's a lot going on. So why Fauci invoked the Fifth Amendment on the 26th? Fauci appeared under subpoena before Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. In his opening statement, he said he was invoking the Fifth on advice of counsel because of what he described as Senator Rand Paul's obvious obsession with calling for his prosecution. Repeated slanderous comments and efforts, including release of Fauci's diary. He wrote the book. What are we talking about? That he viewed as aimed at getting him to say something that could lead him ending up behind bars. He repeatedly declined to answer questions. Reports cite more than 100 times, and a standard formulation citing the Fifth. Key reasons: the pardon does not eliminate a Fifth Amendment privilege. Okay. The pardon covers only conduct through the 25th of January, 2025. Or January 19, 2025, sorry. So new statements made under oath after that can create new exposure. Perjury, false statements. Republicans, including Paul and others, had publicly suggested that false testimony in the new hearing could still support charges. And it could. That's why he pled the Fifth the whole time. I figured that. I was like, he's pardoned. He's like, I'm walking scot-free. I'm not saying nothing. And that's where we're at. Right? That is where we are at. And I said, was the NIH listed in the pardon? No. Because I kept saying, like, why wasn't that listed? To me, that's important because that was one of the main questions Senator Rand Paul asked. And I showed you the video, right? So the pardon is personal to Dr. Anthony Fauci. It covers his potential federal offenses arising from or related to his service in the specified role, including as NIAID director. The NIH or NID as an institutional entity is not named as a recipient of clemency, nor does a presidential pardon typically extend to institutions in this manner. So he was still the director of NIH. So questions about whether NIH-funded work constituted gain-of-function research, how the research was defined, characterized in prior testimony, and related funding decisions fall within the scope of conduct related to Fauci's service as NIAID director during the covered period and are therefore within the personal pardon's reach for him. The pardon does not adjudicate the underlying scientific or factual disputes about the research itself. It's crazy what's happening. So in short, the pardon has solid constitutional footing as a personal federal clemency for Fauci's covered past official role conduct. It does not immunize new post-pardon testimony or state actions. And the NIH itself was never a pardon party. So the Fifth Amendment invocation was driven by the residual risk of new criminal exposure from answers given in the 2026 hearing, particularly given the public framing of the proceeding by the chair and others. This word is. So was there a finding of the NIH funded gain of function research? Yes. There have been official acknowledgments and congressional findings that the NIH funded research via EcoHealth Alliance involved gain of function work at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, but this depends heavily on the definition used. NIH has consistently maintained that the work did not meet its narrow regulatory criteria for gain of function research of concern or enhance potential pandemic pathogens under the HHS P3CO framework. So remember how he kept saying, you're mincing words, you're not saying this, that, and the other. Yeah. But 2014 is a significance for his pardons. It's because they had to go back to 2014. You saw what happened in 2017. They couldn't just say, okay, we're just going to give you a pardon for 2025. He didn't do anything in 2025. Did he? Just saying. They had to go all the way back. I was like, you went back 11 years? For what? Oh, not only did he pardon Anthony Fauci back from 2014, but members of his own family. Biden did that. Why were you pardoning so many people while you were the vice president? It's weird. Like, what was going on? And so the other question I asked, I said, could there be civil lawsuits brought against Dr. Fauci, the NIH, or the NIAID? And the answer is yes. Might be difficult, but they can be brought. So civil lawsuits against Dr. Anthony Fauci, the NIH, or NIAID are possible in principle, but they face substantial legal barriers. A presidential pardon covers only federal criminal offenses and does not bar civil claims. So you're not barred from people being damaged, which they were. They lost their businesses. They lost their careers. Some doctors were losing their licenses. That's harm civilly. So can they go after them civilly? The pardon only protects criminal. It protects civil. Just saying. Might be a difficult road, but I don't think it can't not be done, right? So I will leave this in the link and repost because it is very important to just understand where some of this is going. And just to touch on this briefly, because I wanted to bring it up. So remember that emergency use authorization that was brought up? I had to ask the question, is it still in effect? It is. You guys realize that, right? That whole thing that happened in 2020, it's still in effect. Didn't go anywhere. They're just not using it. It's almost like, okay, I'm going to leave you for a rainy day. Still in effect. So for COVID-19 related products, but they are being phased out with fixed end dates. So in June 29th through 30th, 2026, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy determined that the circumstances no longer justify the COVID-19 emergency use authorization declarations under 564 of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. He signed terminations for the declarations covering drugs, biological products, and medical devices. So you're no longer going to be protected. Pfizer, Moderna, anybody doing any COVID-19 products, there is no longer any protection. So if somebody gets harmed by your product, you're done. You can be sued. And you can't, no one can be forced anymore to deal with this nonsense. Yeah, I feel a situation coming on, right? Do you really think that they're going to allow us to be free like that? I don't know. I have questions. I'll have my tinfoil hat moment. It's okay. I don't mind the tinfoil hat. We have to ask these questions because I need to know. Now, I'm going to bring up the document really quick. Let me remove it. So make it a clean exchange, just to show you guys the memo that was put out in 2021 regarding the EUA. So here was the memo that hit July 6th. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about the emergency use authorization. And as you see here, the FDA to issue an emergency use authorization for medical product such as a vaccine under certain emergency circumstances. And you can constitute anything as an emergency, right? Because it just says certain. It's very broad. This authorization permits the product to be introduced into interstate commerce and administered to individuals even when the FDA has not approved the product for more general distribution pursuant to its standard review process. So basically, they could say, it's an emergency. We're putting this out there. You have to take it. No questions asked. That's still in place right now, today. Yeah, not a fan. I'm not a fan. So hopefully we will be getting past that. Now, let's do some happy stuff, y'all. I know. Look, I know it's like just wearing y'all out like, So let's get to some happier things. So some happier things that are going on is my bonus son, the baby. He's the youngest. He was in the Shaquille O'Neal Dunk Man contest. So I'm going to play you guys his interview first and then one of the highlight reels from the dunk that he made.
My name is Ashaki Nichols. They call me the Joker. And I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Born and raised, hometown. I feel like my dunking style got to do with a lot of speed, a lot of power. I try to get up as fast as possible so I could, have my time in the air. That's kind of what makes me unique. I feel like my personality, just who I am. You can't beat confidence. Can't beat it, can't teach it. I feel like when I come in and I feel like I'm the greatest person up there, that's how I'm gonna feel. That's how I'm gonna dunk. I've been on a different level, work style wise, just trying to be great every day. It's me up against a lot of pros, a lot of people who got stripes in it already. So I'm trying to be one of the people to stand up.
Yep, so he's the baby in the family, and he's doing a great job. I'm really, really proud of him. And from what I know, so for his group B, he is in the top 3. So that's really good. So he'll be advancing, hopefully, with his scores to the final round. And I want to say that show is going to air August 25th on TNT. And thank you for the congratulations, Spud. Now let's just see the highlight reel of this is his second dunk that he did on the show.
Who is this throwing the pass?
Exactly.
Oh, he got an 8.5. Yes, sir. Oh! Dunk of the night. The dude's supposed to be a running back for the Tennessee Titans. Dunk of the night, pass. There's no way he's supposed to be playing basketball. But oh my God. Yo. He's him. Oh my God. Catches it backwards, finishes the spin, throws it down. Hey, that's 2K26 though. 27. Oh my God. Yeah, that's tough. Hey, that's tough. He had power, style, creativity. Oh my God. It's got to be the dunk of the night. It got to be a 10. If they don't give him the 10, we going home. 9.4. A 9.4? 9.4. Hey, he's about to take what you call out.
Dwight Draymond cash all of us out of our seat.
9.4. And the score.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he got his finger caught on the rim. Because every time I see him, I'm always like, "Did you hurt yourself again?" He's like, "Yeah, I was playing." I was just like, "Stop hurting yourself. Stop injuring yourself." But I guess in this case, things happen. But I'm just so proud of him. I'm so happy, as I wanted to give him a highlight here on our Mighty Men Thursday. So definitely keep him in your prayers that he stays well, right? And that he does well on August 25th. So guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News for this Mighty Men Thursday. Tomorrow will be our Prayer with Friday. So we're definitely going to be praying cover and Thanksgiving going into the weekend. So remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.